October 20th, 2025. What an interesting day. AWS outage started essentially at pre-market open, still ongoing. Robinhood's been down all day. Webull has been spotty. That's what I use, fortunately. And yeah, it's just been a rough day. A lot of for retail traders at least. Now, it's been a big rally today though, so I'm green. Fortunately, I was able to sell out a lot of my positions green, and I bought into some other positions a little heavier. You see BCRX, I now have a pretty decent sized position in. And Oscar is green. SoFi is big green. I went a little heavier into SoFi, and then Beyond. Well, I'm very heavy in Beyond right now after the beginning of the short squeeze that I thought might have been coming if you watched my videos last week. So it was a busy day for me. I mean, I was really working through trying to trade while Webull was down. So you can see I sold Snow puts at a small loss. I think that's too early. Gold I sold for a nice profit. I sold my protective puts for a loss, obviously, but overall I was up a good amount. And then Beyond, I did sell a bit of Beyond, and then I got right back in it. I saw that there's still momentum, still volume, and it was worth keeping. Amazon, I sold that call, and I'll explain why in a sec. And then I bought more Bull because I'm bullish on Bull. Now, the one thing the Amazon outage kind of screwed me on was this QQQ put. I wanted to buy it for tomorrow, not today. So I ended up losing a ton of money because, well, I think the market's going to go down, but I don't think it's going to go down today. So I'm 90% sure that I selected tomorrow or even the next day when I bought this. But you know what? It's not the end of the world. I lost money on that because it auto closed essentially at the end of the day. So let's look at the chart for there actually, since it's important to understand the whole market picture first. Why did I buy puts? Well, I see a ascending wedge forming, and so I had a theory that um, once we're close to the all-time high here, we could see a double top, and then it may retrace, but the double top plus ascending wedge gave me a little bit of confidence that you know what we might we might break down here. Now let's see what actually is happening. This is on the 4-hour chart. The ascending wedge here is this pattern right here, and we're actually seeing it did break down, but the question is, are we going to have continuation? I mean, here's all-time high, right? We could hit the all-time high and just go crazy and break through, in which case the lines I'll be watching would be it's just in an uptrend. But where are the bounds of the uptrend? Well, we have this line that's pretty thick, and then I would guess this would be the upper bound of our uptrend. So in that case, if that were the case, then we should see a retrace regardless, unless we're going to start curling upwards and go even steeper. My guess is we're going to have a short-term pullback, and so that's why I wanted to buy 1 day to expiry puts on QQQ. And SPY, I think, has already been rolling over. Oh, nope, SPY's still going up. So let's see how tomorrow goes. Because it broke out and didn't have continuation here, I'm questioning the play a little bit. But you know what? Let's see. Let's go to the hourly. It could, there's just not much volume. It's really hard to say. I think if we're going to break out of all-time highs here, it's going to be a big break upwards. But we'll see. My thesis was that ascending triangle means we're going to break down here. And, we don't have a ton of volume on this breakdown. So that makes me think that, you know what, I might lose on that play. But if we do break down, then maybe we'll break down close to VWAP, 610 or so, or maybe even a little further. And then, of course, break up to all-time highs as long as Trump's in the administration. What else? Beyond Meat. I'm big in that. Why am I big in that? It got to this 1.5 level. I think the reason why 1.5 is important is because you see this first massive short plus huge selling, right? There's some profit taking for the short holders there. But down here, I mentioned last week, like there's absolute bonkers volume. Like I bought in somewhere here, somewhere in here, and now we're starting to curl up, finally getting a little bit of the short squeeze. I'm not selling yet. I think my cost basis now is 1.28, somewhere in here, somewhere near the pre-market high is my current cost basis. I sold some at 1, and then I bought back in right about here. Of course, we could go down to 0, but the fact that we have Reddit on this, we have a crap ton of volume. Just insane. Like, look at this, still going 600,000 aftermarket, 5 million, 7 million, just like every hour, just lots of volume. So, we have a huge short right here. We have a huge short right here. I think if we can get to 1.5 as support instead of resistance, that'll be helpful for us to make the next leg up through this next short. And I'd be looking at about halfway. I like to do halfway between these big red bars. If we get up to there, I'll trim here, and then I'll trim here, and I'll trim here. And I'm going to hold my calls until it goes really far up. That's why I have that note there to trim calls. On the off chance we make it even further, I'm going to save some till we get up to 5. I can't imagine us going beyond that, but who knows? The thing I like about this stock is it's not at the whims of Trump and Trump news. We do have earnings coming up, so that might be a catalyst for a further upward slope in the short squeeze. The other thing to think about is they pulled a move, if you watch the news, similar to Carvana, back when Carvana was going bankrupt. Gosh, I can't remember where it was, but it was somewhere down here. In these smaller numbers. So we could be looking at another Carvana. Maybe it's not going to go to 400. Jesus. But I'm looking for, for my runners, I will probably sell maybe in the $10 range. Let's see. If I were to zoom out even further, let's look at even the weekly. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go back up there, but there's no reason why, with as many shorts as there are, I might keep some runners until we hit on 100, actually. Like right about here. Are we going to actually reach that? I don't know, probably not. I will sell most everything, but I'll keep one or two of my calls just for the chance that we turn into a Carvana situation. So that's the one I'm most excited about. Really big green on that, which I'm excited about. The other thing which is interesting, I did sell out of Okta and Amazon. Now, why did I do that? Well, my play with Okta was we're going to hit this sort of shared level here, and we're going to start skyrocketing again. It seems to be that always happens. But there are 2 things, actually 3 things wrong that I saw. One, we're underperforming on Okta. Look at this, underperforming compared to SPY and QQQ. SPY and QQQ. And there's not as much volume as I would like to see. Let me make this more legible. But you could argue that this was the volume that we needed to push it higher. So this created the final support. Unfortunately, I got wicked out of this, so live and learn. But this was likely the accumulation that we needed to finally reverse this trend. So in a week, if I see it break out of this downward trend line, then go like this, I'll be a little disappointed that I sold out, but live and learn. Same with Amazon. What I saw with Amazon is It hit its bottom with there was some volume on the breakout, but I wasn't that confident in the breakout. And so when I got a little bit of green here, I just sold out. Realistically, we could be looking at the beginning of a new all-time high for QQQ. And if that's the case, then Amazon's going to see that as well, up here to 239. But we do have this big resistance line here, so I might hold off until we hit this resistance line. If I were to guess, we might hit that close to earnings date. And then whether or not I go in on this earnings will be determined on how other earnings go that I see. With the outage today, maybe the news will cause it to have relative weakness. You see, we have relative weakness on Amazon as well. Maybe it'll have relative weakness for a little bit longer until earnings. But I'm out of those two for now, and to be honest, I'm not bummed about that at all because those stocks are really just owned by Trump. If Trump wants news and volume, and if his hedge funds buddies do, then they just release some news and sort of game the system. That's why I like things like Beyond. Okay, SoFi. SoFi is just broke out of a downtrend. I've been a long-term holder of this in both cash secured put and LEAPs. This one I never sold out of. We got earnings coming up. Could earnings be the catalyst to break it out of this all-time high? Maybe. I have no idea. But we'll watch the volume. If the volume tells us a story that I like, then I'll keep holding. And again, as with Amazon and Okta, we do see this volume here right at the bottom. So I'm glad I held this. I didn't sell SoFi. I did trim a little bit on SoFi just because I was over leveraged. I wanted to get back within my risk tolerance. But I do expect SoFi to have good numbers. I mean, it could go anyway, but that might be the catalyst for an all-time high. Or if they have bad earnings, that could be the catalyst to retrace down. Who knows? My other positions right now, I do have a QQQ put for tomorrow. That's because we're hitting that upper trend line on the ascending wedge. MP, they just broke out. Now with MP, it spiked upwards, and there is a downward trend line right about here. You can see it broke out, and so I bought on the retest. So if you go to a smaller time frame, you can see this red candle. So I'm currently green. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But again, as with Amazon, I'm not so sure because the volume isn't that convincing. It's pretty low volume. So, if I were to learn my lesson from USAR, I might expect to retrace down to somewhere in here. But the good news is I do have a few months out, or at least 1 month out. Let's take a look. What did I buy? January. Yep. So I do have time on that. So if it does go down to here, that can be another chance for me to go in, or maybe I'll exit depending on what the volume is telling me. Now, what else am I holding? Beyond Bull. I bought more Bull. BCRX. I actually bought more BCRX because it's starting to retrace upwards, and I like that. I like the look of that. We had this popped up on my scanner, huge volume on pretty big news, honestly. If you look at the news from this date, they acquired another company, and that company, this company focuses on sort of rare diseases, and they're hitting all-time lows. So this could be the bottom before they retrace back up to, gosh, I don't know, maybe this yellow line. I'll start adding my levels as I see them cross over these EMAs, And I do have this box up here. There's another resistance zone. But yeah, this story here is pretty clear. I mean, there's a ton of volume. Um, if you look at the numbers here, 263,000 shares just to get it up. 1.91 million down. If you look at the absolute volume up here, so that's an imbalance for sure. Now on snow, I thought maybe because of the shape that is the same kind of scenario, whereas low volume up, high volume down. But in this case, to me, that means bullish, because we're now bouncing upwards off this trend line. We have a nice clear trend line that should be cleaned up, because I think it's actually a little off. Let's see. I don't know what this vertical line here is about, but so yeah, the BCRX bullish on that. We'll see where that ends up. If it keeps going up, then great. But yeah, clear accumulation you can see from this volume, and that showed up on my scanner where I check for relative volume spikes. So BCRS, Oscar, looking good on Oscar today. I mean, everything's green across the board, right? I have some cash secured puts on this. We're back to an uptrend, finally, something like that. So if we go sideways, that's fine. It's cash secured puts. If not, then I assume we go up for a little bit longer. BBAI, that's fine. That's a cash secured put. Honest cash secured put. Not worried about that. Let's see how tomorrow goes.